The morning Hannah Voss walked into Prairie Rise Bakery with a single loaf wrapped in brown paper, she already knew what would happen. She'd waited 3 years for this moment. 3 years of mockery, rejected contracts, and men in grain elevators treating her like she couldn't read a moisture meter. The baker, Maria Castellano, unwrapped the loaf, pressed her thumb into the crust, tore a piece, and held it to the light. Then she closed her eyes and tasted it. "This is impossible," Maria said. "What is this?" "Turkey red. Grown the way it used to be grown." Maria opened her eyes. "I'll take everything you can produce. Name your price." But that morning was still 3 harvests away. The story began at Schaefer Grain Elevator on a September afternoon when Hannah backed her truck up to the receiving pit with 2,000 pounds of heritage wheat she'd grown on 40 acres. Everyone said she'd waste it. Doug Schaefer came out of the office, clipboard in hand, not quite meeting her eyes. He'd known her father, had bought wheat from this same farm for 30 years. But that was before Hannah had inherited it, before she'd made what he called some interesting choices. "Let's see what you got," he said. She opened the tailgate. The wheat poured into the sample bucket, amber kernels, uniform and clean. Doug ran it through the sieve, checked the moisture, weighed the test weight. Everything came back perfect. She watched his jaw work. "Protein, 14.2%, Hannah said. "Had it tested at the university." He wrote something on the clipboard. "I'm gonna have to dock you for foreign material." "There's no foreign material. Look at it. Excess dust and chaff. Market standard. 20% dock." Hannah's hands tightened on the truck bed. "That's my premium wheat. You're pricing it below feed grade." "That's the offer." "Doug, you know this is clean. It's heritage grain. Market doesn't know what to do with it. I'm taking a risk as is." He said it like he was doing her a favor, like she should thank him for the insult. She'd learned not to argue. Her mother had taught her that, back when her mother was still alive, still farming this land with the quiet competence men mistook for luck. "Don't fight in public. Just proceed." "I'll take it elsewhere," Hannah said. "Suit yourself. But you'll get the same answer anywhere in 3 counties. He walked back to the office, conversation finished. She drove to Morrison Grain 20 miles south. They docked her 30%, called it non-standard variety risk. At Westfield Co-op, they wouldn't even run the tests, told her to come back when she had real wheat. By sunset, she'd driven 80 miles and heard the same message in different words. "Your wheat doesn't fit our system. Little lady, maybe try a farmer's market." At the kitchen table that night, she spread out her harvest records, her test results, her calculations. 14% protein in a year when conventional wheat averaged 9. Test weight 62 pounds per bushel when the regional average was 58. 0 pesticide residue, perfect moisture content, and kernels so uniform they could have been graded by machine. And no one would pay her what it was worth. Her brother called from Denver. "Dad, I heard you got the harvest in." Hannah closed her eyes. "It's Hannah, Kyle. Sorry. Force of habit." "How'd it go?" "Elevators won't take it fairly. They're calling it defective." "Maybe they have a point. That turkey red stuff. Mom was into that. But it's not exactly commercial." "It's better than commercial. The tests prove it." "Better doesn't matter if nobody wants to buy it. You could still sell the farm. The development company's offer is still on the table. You could come out here, start fresh." Start fresh. As if 30 years of her mother's work, 50 years before that of her grandmother's, could be erased for a subdivision and a fresh start. "I'm not selling." "Hannah, thanks for calling, Kyle." She hung up and went outside. The September air smelled like cut grain and diesel in the particular dust of harvest season. 40 acres of stubble stretched out under the stars. Her 40 acres, her heritage wheat now stacked in the barn because no elevator would give her honest weight. Her mother used to say that good farming was about patience. Wait for the right price. Wait for the right buyer. Wait for the moment when quality proved itself undeniable. But her mother had also worked with conventional varieties, had played by the established rules. Hannah had stepped outside those rules, and now the whole system was teaching her the cost. She'd planted turkey red because the old seed bank records showed it had thrived in Kansas droughts for generations, because her grandmother's journals described flour so flavorful you could eat the bread plain, because something in her bones said this was right. She'd hand-selected seed, managed it without chemicals, harvested at the exact peak ripeness. And for that precision, for that quality, she was being punished. In the barn, she ran her hands through the stored wheat. felt the kernel slip between her calloused fingers. Somewhere, someone would understand what she'd grown. She just had to find them. The farmer's market was Hannah's compromise with reality. She set up a card table under a borrowed canopy, put out 5-pound bags of whole wheat berries with handwritten labels. Turkey red heritage wheat, $8 per pound. The woman at the next booth, selling conventional produce, laughed. Honey, wheat's trading at $6 a bushel. You're asking 75 times market price. It's not market wheat. It's all wheat. By noon, Hannah had sold nothing. People picked up the bags, read the labels, set them down with polite smiles. A few asked questions. What makes it heritage? Is this organic? Can you eat it raw? But nobody bought. She was packing up when the woman approached. Mid-50s, expensive boots, appraising eyes that actually looked at the wheat instead of the price tag. This is turkey red, the woman asked. Yes, ma'am. Where do you source the seed? USDA Seed Bank. Original 1873 lineage. The woman picked up a bag, opened it, poured kernels into her palm. She examined them like a jeweler grading stones, checking size, color, uniformity. Your protein tests? 14 to 14.5%, depending on the field section. Test weight? 62 pounds. The woman's eyes sharpened. You're Hannah Voss. I heard about you. The elevators are blackballing your wheat. Word travels. I'm Maria Castellano. I run Prairie Rise Bakery in Lawrence. She held out her hand. Hannah shook it. Maria's grip was firm, her palms dusted with what looked like flour. I've been looking for a heritage grain supplier for 3 years. Everything I find is either contaminated with modern varieties or grown by people who don't understand how to handle it properly. I understand how to handle it. So I see. These kernels are perfect. Maria poured them back into the bag. But I can't pay 75 times market price. Not without tasting the flour first. Are you willing to send me a sample? I'll pay shipping. How much sample? 20 pounds. I'll mill it myself, do some test bakes. If it's what I think it is, we'll talk contract. Hannah sold her the 20 pounds at cost. Maria left her business card, told her to expect a call within 2 weeks, and drove away in a Tesla that probably cost more than Hannah's entire harvest. The woman at the next booth shook her head. You just gave away 20 pounds of your premium wheat. I just found a buyer who knows what she's looking at, Hannah said. But driving home, doubt crept in. She'd heard promises before. Everyone in farming had a story about the big buyer who'd pay premium prices, right up until contract time when the terms changed. Maria seemed legitimate, but seeming and being were different things. 2 weeks came and went. No call. Hannah took a job at the feed store, part-time, minimum wage, stocking shelves and running the register, while men she'd grown up with came in to buy supplies, not quite meeting her eyes. Larry Preston, who farmed 800 acres of conventional corn, actually patted her shoulder. Heard you're working retail now. That's real honest work, Hannah. Nothing wrong with pivoting. She smiled. Didn't argue. Proceeded. At home, she ran the numbers again. The farm taxes were due in January. Her savings would cover them. Barely. If she didn't eat much and the truck didn't need repairs. The 40 acres of turkey red sat in her barn, too valuable to sell at elevator prices, too unmarketable to move at fair prices. A perfect trap. Called again. The developer raised their offer. They're at $400,000 now. For $100,000. She could pay off the farm debt, have money left over, start something new. Stop being the county's favorite cautionary tale. I'm not selling. Why? Because Mom wouldn't want you to. Because I grew the best wheat in 3 states, and I'm not giving up before it finds the right home. That's pride talking, not sense. Maybe it was pride. Or maybe it was the same stubborn certainty that had made her mother keep farming after Dad died, that had made her grandmother hold this land. To the Depression, women in her family didn't quit when things got hard. They just kept proceeding forward until the land itself proved them right. The call came on a Thursday morning. Hannah was mucking out the chicken coop when her phone buzzed in her pocket. Hannah Voss? This is Maria Castellano. I apologize for the delay. I wanted to run proper tests. Hannah's heart kicked. And I made 17 different breads with your flour. Sourdough, yeasted, quick breads, pastries. I brought in 3 other professional bakers to blind taste them. We all reached the same conclusion. Hannah waited. This is the best wheat I've ever worked with. The flavor profile is extraordinary. Nutty, slightly sweet, complex in ways modern wheat can't touch. The gluten development is perfect. The dough handles like a dream. Hannah, this is what bread used to taste like before we bred all the quality out for yield. What are you offering? $3 per pound, minimum 500 pounds per month, year-round contract. I'll take everything you can grow. Hannah did the math in her head. $3 per pound was 36 times the elevator's dock price. On her 40-acre yield, that was enough to pay the farm taxes, buy new equipment, and still have a profit margin that made commercial farming look like charity work. I need it in writing, Hannah said. I'll have my lawyer draw up the contract. But Hannah, I want to show you something first. Hannah drove to Lawrence on a Saturday, her truck cab smelling like the lavender sachets her mother used to make. Prairie Rise Bakery occupied a restored brick building in the Arts District, floor-to-ceiling windows, white tile, gleaming stainless steel. Through the glass, she could see a line of customers stretching to the door. Maria met her in the parking lot, wearing an apron dusted with flour. You're going to want to see this. Inside, the bakery smelled like every good childhood memory Hannah had. Bread rising, butter browning, yeast and warmth and sustenance. The display cases held loaves that looked like sculpture, dark crusts, open crumb structure, shapes that suggested craft rather than mass production. This is the turkey red loaf, Maria said, pointing to a round bowl with a price tag that made Hannah blink. $18. We sell 60 per day. People call ahead to reserve them. $18 for one loaf. Taste it. Maria cut a thick slice, handed it over. Hannah bit into it, and the flavor stopped her cold. It tasted like her grandmother's kitchen. Like wheat was supposed to taste, rich, complex, alive. Nothing like the white bread from grocery stores. Nothing like the whole wheat that tasted like cardboard and virtue. This is just wheat and water and salt and starter, Maria said. No tricks. The grain does everything. Your grain. A woman approached the counter, saw the loaf Maria was cutting. Oh, is that the heritage wheat? I'll take 2. And can I get on the reservation list for next week? Maria bagged the loaves, took the payment, turned back to Hannah. I have 12 restaurants asking for wholesale contracts. I have a waiting list of home bakers who want to buy flour. I could sell 3 times what I'm producing, and the bottleneck is grain supply. Your grain. They went to Maria's office, a small room above the bakery, windows overlooking the street. Maria pulled out the contract, slid it across the desk. 500 pounds minimum per month, $3 per pound. 2-year term with automatic renewal. Quality standards attached, protein, test weight, moisture content. Everything you're already hitting. I pay shipping. You deliver monthly. Hannah read it twice. Her hands didn't shake. What about expansion? If I planted more acreage? I'll take everything you can grow. Within 5 years, I want to open 3 more locations. Each one will need heritage grain. If you can scale up, I can scale with you. Hannah signed. They shook hands, and Maria smiled. Not the condescending smile Hannah had gotten used to, but the smile of one professional recognizing another. The elevators made a mistake, Maria said. They saw dust where there was terroir. They saw risk where there was value. Their loss. Their loss, Hannah agreed. Driving home, she called Kyle. I signed a contract. $3 per pound for turkey red. Silence. Then, that's not possible. Wheat doesn't sell for that. This wheat does. The baker ran tests. She's expanding her operation based on my supply. Hannah. His voice changed. I'm sorry. For what I said. About selling. You were looking out for me. I was scared you'd lose everything. I didn't understand what you were building. Neither did I, for a while. But Mom knew. Grandma knew. They kept the seed stock alive for a reason. After she hung up, she stopped at Schaefer Grain Elevator. Doug was in the office, working through paperwork. He looked up when she walked in. Hannah, you come back to discuss terms. I came to tell you I don't need your terms. I found a buyer. $3 per pound, year-round contract. His face went still. That's not a real price. It's a real price for real quality. You couldn't see it. Your loss. She walked out and drove to the farm, where 40 acres of stubble waited for winter cover crop. Next year, she'd plant 60 acres of turkey red. She'd already talked to the seed bank about expanding her stock. Maria had connected her with 2 other heritage grain bakers, one in Chicago, one in Portland, both interested in supply contracts if she could scale production. The feed store called that evening. Hannah, this is Bill. Listen, I heard you signed some kind of specialty contract. Is that true? It's true. Well, he cleared his throat. We've got an opening for assistant manager. Better pay, benefits. Thought you might be interested. I appreciate it, Bill, but I'm farming full-time now. Right? Of course. Well, if you need anything, seed, supplies, we'd love to work with you. She thanked him and hung up. The respect, now that she didn't need it, came flooding in. Larry Preston stopped by the next day, hat literally in his hands. Hannah, I heard about your contract. That's real impressive. Thank you. I was wondering. I've got 20 acres in the back 40 that aren't producing well. Been thinking about trying something different. You got any advice on heritage varieties? She could have turned him away. Could have reminded him about the shoulder pat, the condescension. Instead, she said, come by Saturday morning. Bring a notebook. Because the vindication wasn't in refusing help. It was in proving the methods worked, then sharing them. The way her mother had. The way her grandmother had. By spring, Hannah had 4 neighboring farmers asking about turkey red seed stock. By summer, she was consulting on heritage grain production for farmers in 2 states. Maria introduced her to an agricultural journalist, and the article that resulted brought inquiries from bakers nationwide. The day the piece ran, Hannah walked her fields at dawn, checking the wheat as it headed out. The stalks stood thick and strong, dark green against the pale sky. She ran her hands over the developing heads, felt the promise of grain to come. Her phone buzzed. Kyle, saw the article. I'm proud of you. Then Jessica Chun, from the next farm over. Can you teach me your selection process? I want to try this. Then a number she didn't recognize. Ms. Voss. This is the Kansas State Agricultural Extension Office. We'd like to discuss a demonstration project. The messages kept coming, but Hannah put the phone in her pocket. There'd be time for that later. Right now, there was just the field, the grain, and the morning light catching on wheat that her grandmother had grown, that her mother had preserved, that Hannah had refused to compromise. She'd been right. Not because she'd argued loudest or fought hardest, but because she'd understood what quality meant and refused to settle for less. The elevators had seen dust. Maria had seen terroir. And in the end, the difference between those 2 visions was everything. Hannah Voss walked back to the house, her calloused hands swinging at her sides, her face weathered by sun and wind, and the quiet satisfaction of being devastatingly, completely right. Behind her, the wheat rustled in the morning breeze, the sound of old knowledge growing forward into new hands, the sound of value finally recognized, the sound of a woman who'd simply proceeded until the world caught up.